Blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, you are the biblical Israelites that the Bible speaks of. You are the physical descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The lost 12 tribes of Israel. We're not really lost. We're just scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Again, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you are the chosen people that the Bible is speaking of. This is your biblical constitution. All right? Now going to, we about to go into St. John 8:32, and then we'll get on with the rest of the lesson. St. John 8:32. Give me that. And these are the words of Yahweh Shah, who the world calls Jesus Christ, the black Messiah. This is what he said to the nation of Israel, to the elect. Read on.
St. John chapter 8 and verse 42.
Read on. You get in the middle. You get over there, Raj. Come on. All right, go ahead.
St. John chapter 8 and verse 32.
And
ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. So in order to be free in your mind and to be free spiritually, you must know the truth. Because it's the lies that keep you from being spiritually free. And it's also the lies that keep you from being free in your mind.
Y'all keep preaching that word, brother.
All right. And so this is what Yahweh Shah said, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, the Messiah. He said, knowing the truth is going to set you free spiritually and also mentally in your mind. So if you have not been set free spiritually and mentally in your mind, it's because you have been fed the lies. You have been fed the falsehood and the deceits of the United Snakes of America, man. All right? So let's keep going on. Now, Isaiah chapter 40, verse 3. Isaiah 40, verse 3. We're going to break down that. Isaiah in the Old Testament, chapter 40, and begin with verse 3.
Isaiah chapter 40 and verse 3.
The
voice of him that crieth in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord.
Okay, so this was the mission of John the Baptist. Isaiah was prophesying in the spirit about John the Baptist. Isaiah 40 verse 3. The voice of him that cried in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord. Make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Now when you look at the word wilderness, it's not talking about the physical location. It's not talking about the actual place as a desert, wilderness. And when you look at the word desert, because it has wilderness and it also has desert. It says, cry in the wilderness. And it says, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make straight in the desert. The wilderness in the desert, it represents the spiritual entanglement of the hearts and minds of God's people. All right? So when it talks about the wilderness in the desert, that's talking about the spiritual entanglement of the hearts and minds of God's people. Read on Isaiah 40 and verse 4.
Isaiah chapter 40 and verse 4. Every valley shall be exalted, and every mountain and hill shall be made low.
See that? So we're going to talk about the valley. I'm going to break that down in the mountain and the hill. I'm going to also break the rest down. So when it says, the voice of him that cried in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, and make straight in the desert a highway for our God, you're supposed to be clearing your mental, getting yourself spiritually in order, getting yourself out of spiritual entanglement, so God can really work with your heart and your mind. Because your heart and your mind, it must be cleared so that the Most High can come through. Because if your heart and your mind is not cleared, that represents spiritual entanglement. That represents a person stuck in the wilderness or the desert. Now in Isaiah 40 verse 4, when it says every valley shall be exalted, the valley represents the Most High's people in a low state. A lot of us is in the valley, just like, give me Ezekiel 37. Because Isaiah 40 verse 4 says, every valley shall be exalted. So what does that mean? That means that God's people, you blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, that's in a low state. You in the valley and you in a low state. You lost, you in the valley. You don't know your God, you in the valley. You don't know your heritage. You understand? You don't know that you're supposed to be keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments. You don't even know your nationality as an Israelite. You blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans. You are in the valley, man. According to Isaiah 40 and verse 4, every valley shall be exalted. That means that those in a low state shall be exalted. You got to come out of this lowliness. You got to come out of this low state. You got to seek truth. Now, according to that valley, in Isaiah chapter 40, verse 4, Ezekiel 37. Read Ezekiel 37, verse 1 from the top.
Ezekiel chapter 37 and verse 1.
Uh-huh.
The hand of the Lord was upon me, and carried me out in the spirit of the Lord, and set me down in the midst of the valley.
Set me down in the midst of the what?
Of the valley.
Set me down in the midst of the what?
Of the valley.
See that? Ezekiel said the Most High set him down in the midst of the valley. Go ahead.
Which was full of bones.
Which was full of bones. Now that valley, which was full of the bones, that represents the Israelites, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. That represents you in a low state of mind. Because you're not spiritually inclined. You don't know who you are. You understand you've been spiritually deprived by the enemies. You understand these other heathen nations. You know the Edomites, the so-called white man, and all the other nations that have lied to you in Babylon. You've been spiritually deprived and you've been set up to remain in this low state of consciousness. That's why he told Ezekiel, he told him to prophesy to those bones in that valley, man, when you read Ezekiel 37 chapter. Now we're going to find out who the bones are in Ezekiel 37 chapter. So when you skip over to Ezekiel 37, let's see what verse. Ezekiel 37 and let's see where it says the bones of Israel. Ezekiel 37 verse 11. Watch this. Read,
Ezekiel chapter 37 and verse 11. Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel.
These bones are who?
The whole house of Israel.
So the bones in the valley that Ezekiel saw represents the whole house of Israel. Now who are the Israelites today? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. That's who are God's chosen people. You've been in this low state for some time now. So that's who are the bones in Ezekiel 37 chapter, man. In that valley. It represents blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans in a low state. You in a low state mentally, and you in a low state spiritually. So anytime you read about somebody in the valley in the Bible, that is God's chosen people in a low state. So now go back to Isaiah chapter 40 verse 4. Isaiah chapter 40 verse 4. Read it out.
Isaiah chapter 40 and verse 4.
Isaiah 40 verse 4. Read.
Every valley shall be exalted.
Now we just showed you in Ezekiel 37 verse 11 who are the bones in the valley, man. So that means all you blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you got to be exalted because you've been in a low state for a long time. Over 400 some odd years. You've been in slavery and servitude under the hands of the Edomites, under the hands of the white man. Not only the white man, but other heathen nations, like the Ammonites, the Japanese, the Moabites, the Chinese, the Ishmaelites, the Arabs, the Hamites, which are the Africans, the Kittamites, which are the Romans, Javanites, which are the Greeks. These other nations that have their dealings with our people, man. And now we're under the captivity of the so-called white man, which are the Edomites, in the United States of America, which is Babylon, the Bible speaks of. You are under his spell. You are under the spell of Christianity. You are under the spell of Islam. You are under the spell of all these strange religions in the earth. You have become victim to these religions and these institutions. You're under the spell, man. You feel what I'm saying? You're under the ghost spell. You feel me? Not the gospel, but you're under the ghost spell. You got to be exalted from that low state to know that you was never given religion. You understand? Give me Roswell. Give me Deuteronomy chapter 4. You got to be exalted to know that God never gave you religion. God never gave you tradition. God never gave you philosophy and the rudiments of this world. What did God give us as the nation of Israel, man? Let me see that out. Deuteronomy chapter 4. Start with Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 1. Deuteronomy 4 and 1. Read.
Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 1.
Slide over some. Slide over some, Ross. Deuteronomy 4 and 1. Read.
Now therefore hearken, O Israel.
Now therefore hearken, O Israel. Go ahead.
Unto the statutes.
And to the statutes. Go ahead.
And unto the judgments.
And to the statutes and the judgments. That's what the Most High gave the nation of Israel. According to Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 1, man. Come on, out. Let me see it. Help you out for a second. Deuteronomy 4 and 1. Now therefore hearken, O Israel, to the statutes and to the judgments, which I shall teach you to do them. He didn't give us religion. But the oppressor gave you religion. The white man gave blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans religion. And all these other heathen nations. You understand? That's why we got to come out of the low state. Because we was given something that's totally contrary to what God gave us. According to Deuteronomy 4 and 1. Hearken to the judgments and the statutes, which I teach you for to do them, that ye may live and go and to possess the land, which the Lord your God, which the Lord God of your fathers giveth you. Then it goes on to say, in Deuteronomy 4 and verse 7, it says, for what nation is there so great, who has God so near to them, as the Lord our God in all things that we call upon him? Deuteronomy 4 and 8, and what nation is there so great, that has statutes and judgments? See, we didn't have religion. We never had religion. But we came to know religion through our servitude and captivity when we broke God's commandments. He allowed these other nations to come in on us, to flood in on us, and give us strange religions. You understand? Give us Christianity and give us Hinduism and Islam and Catholicism and every other religion and denomination you can think of. The Most High allowed the enemy to do that to us, man. For not keeping his statutes and his judgments and his commandments. But if you want to know what the Most High gave us, he gave us laws, statutes, and commandments. The heathen gave you religion. And that's what have kept you in the valley. That's why you've been a dry bone in the valley. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Because you have made yourself religious instead of spiritual. It's total two different things. To be religious is to be a slave. To be religious is to rely on. To rely on the system or to rely on the slave oppressor, the slave master. You understand? But to be spiritual is to be sound and spiritually inclined and high-minded. You haven't been spiritual today because you're too busy being religious by the hands and the spell of the oppressor. Deuteronomy 4 and 9. What nation is there so great that has statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law which I set before you this day? You see that? The Most High set a law before us, not religion. So if you wonder why the black man, Hispanic man, Native American man, woman, and child have been in the valley and have become a dry bone because they have become religious under the oppressor that the Most High allowed to conquer us and subdue us. All right? Ezekiel chapter 40 verse 4. Read that again. Isaiah 40 verse 4. Salah. Isaiah 40 verse 4.
Isaiah chapter 40 and verse 4. Every valley shall be exalted, and every mountain and hill shall be made low.
Every valley shall be exalted. That valley is representing the Israelites in a low state that's going to be exalted when they return back to keeping God's laws, statutes, and commandments. He will breathe the breath. He will breathe the breath in those slain, and they will return back to who they are, knowing their nationality, knowing their God, knowing their language. They will return back to their first estate and acknowledge themselves as Israelite men and Israelite women and Israelite boys and girls. That's that valley that shall be exalted. Once again, the Israelite man, woman, and child in a low state. They got to come up. They got to elevate, and their spirit got to be, their soul got to be restored into the truth. What else it says? Every valley shall be exalted, and every what?
It says, every valley shall be exalted, and every mountain and hill shall be made low.
Now it says, every valley shall be exalted. Every low brother and sister, every Israelite brother and sister and child, every valley, those brothers and sisters and children in a low mindset, they got to be exalted when they find truth. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be exalted when they find truth. And it says, every mountain and hill shall be made low. That's talking about the heathen nations that's ruling over God's chosen people. Every mountain and hill shall be made low. Every mountain and hill shall be made low. That means all you heathens, the white man, which are the Edomites, the Ishmaelites, which are the Arabs, and all you other heathen nations that have your mountaintop high and have it fixed the way you want to fix it, got to come down, man. Every mountain and hill shall be made low. Because when the valley is exalted, the mountain and the hill got to come down. The valley that's being exalted is the Israelites, because we the bones in the valley. So the valley that's going to be exalted eventually is blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans that's going to return back to their heritage and their nationality and keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. And the mountains and the hill that's going to be made low is you other heathen nations that have oppressed and ruled over God's chosen people for some time. Read on, Op. Every valley shall be exalted, every mountain, read on.
And hills shall be made low.
That's the heathens being brought down, read on.
And the crooked shall be made straight.
And the crooked shall be made straight. Now what is the crooked? The crooked represents the lies that we have been fed. The crooked shall be made straight. Lies from our enemies. You understand? They told us lies. And everything crooked must be made straight. Because what's in the dark don't come to the light. You understand? We were fed lies, but now we finding out truth. Matter of fact, give me this right here. Wait a minute. Wait a minute, just a second. Because the truth is emerging now, man. The truth is rising to the surface. So what's crooked gotta be made straight. Hey, give me Proverbs 12 and 19. Because what's crooked, that represents the lies. This matrix we living in. Proverbs 12 and 19 say what?
Proverbs chapter 12 and verse 19. The lip of truth shall be established forever.
The lip of truth shall be what?
Shall be established forever.
So if you come with lies, you know your lies ain't going to stand. All these lies we've been given. I'm going to tell you what a religion is. A religion ain't nothing but a lie. When you in religion, you win lies. All right? Because religion ain't nothing but a lie. That's all it is. And if you're religious, that means you're full of lies. Because religion don't hold truth. Religion don't hold sound doctrine. There's no sound doctrine in Catholicism. There's no sound doctrine in Christianity. There's no sound doctrine in Islam. There's no sound doctrine in any other religion or denomination on the earth, because religion was given to you by man. Man gave you religion. The only true sound doctrine to ever exist is the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, who the world calls God and Jesus Christ. The Torah is what's going to keep you alive. The Torah is what's going to keep you sophisticated and sound and keep you with common ground. You got to submit to Torah. You got to keep the laws of Moses as an Israelite. But what has these organizations taught you to do? Not to be under the law, not to be subjected under the law. Tell you that the law of Moses is done away with. You understand? Read it again, Proverbs 12 and 19.
Proverbs chapter 12 and verse 19. The lip of truth shall be established forever.
The lip of truth shall be established forever. The lip of truth shall be established forever. And that's what we got to go back to, man. And when we go back to that, it says, according to Isaiah 40, where is it? About to prove. Isaiah 40 in verse 4 says, and the crook shall be made straight, and the rough places plain. That's how we gonna get this crookedness out of here. By submitting to the truth. All right, give me Give me 2 Corinthians 13, verse 8. The crook shall be made straight. The crook represents the lies that we've been told to keep us out of order, man. We got to be straightened out. 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 8, man.
2 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 8.
Read.
For we can do nothing against the truth.
For we can do nothing against the truth. We can do nothing against the truth, man. But the heathens have done everything to try to suppress the truth and keep the truth from the chosen people, man. We can do nothing against the truth. Give me Psalms 85 and 11. That's the truth that's going to be made straight. These doggone lies they telling, everything going to come to the surface. We're going to see the devil for who he truly is. These Edomites, the so-called white men that the Bible speaks of, man. And the rest of you heathen nations that have conspired and plotted up against us. Psalm 85 verse 11, read.
Psalms chapter 85 and verse 11.
Read.
It says, truth shall spring out of the earth.
Truth shall do what?
Spring out of the earth.
Truth shall spring out of the earth because there's no truth being taught here in the United States of America. You have been fed lies through the educational system. The educational systems are not telling you the truth. They're not telling you the truth historically. They're not telling you the truth when it comes down to world history and U.S. history. They're not telling you the truth. They're telling you enough to get their pockets paid, and that's it. You have not been given truth in the United States of America because the oppressor cannot afford to give you truth. You've been lied to. That's why when Christ came, Christ was all about speaking the truth and standing up for his nation of people. So what did the Roman Empire do? They crucified Christ. They crucified him because he was speaking truth. They crucified him because he was tearing down the Roman Empire. They crucified him because he stood against every lie that was being issued at that appointed time. And when you speak the truth, you're not going to live long. When you stand for truth, you're going to be crucified just like Christ. When you tear down the strongholds of the devil and you start speaking the truth in the spirit, you're not going to last long. And all this country right here, this whole country has been a lie. This country was built off lies, falsehood, and deceit. This country has been built off the bloodshed, the sweat and tears of the Native Americans. And also the Negroes. And you have not been given truth. But the Bible says the truth shall set you free. That's the crooks being straight. Now you're going to rather accept truth or you're going to rather accept a lie. The choice is yours. We can't make you believe the truth. We can't make you. We can just give you the truth and hope you heed to it. Now let's continue to move on, Let's continue to move on now. Give me Sirach 4:25 in the Apocrypha. Sirach 4:25. This is why we are so deranged and out of order, because we haven't been given the truth, man. Sirach 4:25. That's why we crook. That's why Isaiah said he got to make the crooks straight. Give me that, 4:25. Sirach.
Sirach chapter 4 and verse 25.
Read.
And in no wise speak against the truth.
In no wise do what?
Speak against the truth.
Sirach 4:25 says, in no wise speak against the truth. You don't supposed to speak against the truth. If it's the truth, you're supposed to heed to it. You understand? You don't supposed to try to tear it down. But we know what the enemies have done. Our enemies, the heathens. You understand? The Edomite, the so-called white man, and the rest of you nations. You don't supposed to speak against the truth. The truth supposed to be beneficial. The truth supposed to be for your welfare. You're not supposed to speak against the truth. Read it again, Read it again.
Sirach chapter 4 and verse 25.
Read it again.
In no wise speak against the truth.
In no wise speak against the truth. They have spoken against the truth in the United States of America. This government has spoken against the truth. This government has spoken against what's necessary to benefit you on the behalf of your salvation. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. They have spoken against the truth. They have blasphemed the word of God. They have blasphemed God's chosen people. They have blasphemed the Messiah. They have blasphemed the eternal God. They have blasphemed Torah and these commandments. That's what Babylon the Great has done. The United States, the United Snakes of America. They have spoke against the truth. They have spoke against the laws of God. Give me Psalms 119, 142. We're going to show you what the truth is. We just showed you in Sirach 4:25. It says, speak not against the truth. What you think the truth is? The truth is the laws of God that these heathens have uprose and spoke against. Put their mouth on. Blaspheme. Come on, out. Psalms 119, 142.
Psalms chapter 119, verse 142.
Come on.
Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness.
Thy righteousness, God, righteousness is an everlasting righteousness. That's what's going to stand forever. Righteousness. Read,
Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness. And thy law is the truth.
And thy law is the truth. God's laws is the truth. Torah is the truth. That's what the truth is. The dietary law, the ceremonial law, the civil law. You understand? The sacrificial laws. That is not prevalent today, but was. And also many other laws. There's 613 commandments in the Bible that was given to the nation of Israel, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And it said God's laws is the what?
God's laws. And thy righteousness is the everlasting righteousness. And thy law is the truth. So what make you gonna think? What makes you think that? What makes you everlasting righteous? What makes you a righteous being everlasting? The law, which is the truth. And Sirach 4:25 in the Apocrypha, Sirach 4:25 tells you to speak not against the truth. The heathen have done that. The heathen have done that. The Edomites, the white man, and the rest of these nations have done that. Spoke against the truth. But I'm going to tell you something. Even though he spoke against it, give me Psalms 85 and 11. Let me show you what it's going to do. You can't keep the truth down. If it's the truth, the truth going to always stand, man. The truth going to always stand, man. What's sound going to always stand. What's sacred and what's honored by God and what's natural going to always stand. Psalm 85 and 11, read. Psalms chapter 85 and verse 11.
Because the heathen try to put their foot on the truth and try to suppress the truth from getting to the Israelites. Psalm 85 and 11, read.
Truth shall spring out of the earth.
They put their foot on the truth. The white man put his foot on the truth. What it say?
Truth shall spring out of the earth.
The government tried to sweep truth under the rug and suppress the truth and bury the truth. What Psalm 85 and 11 say?
Truth shall spring out the earth.
Truth shall what?
Spring out the earth.
Truth shall what? Spring out the earth. Truth shall what? Spring out the earth. Truth shall what? Spring out the earth, man. That's what truth. Truth shall spring out. You can't suppress truth. You can't keep a good man down. You can't suppress truth. Just like they tried to suppress Christ. You understand? Crucified him. Killed him. But after 3 days he rose. Because Christ was the truth. You understand? Give me John 14 verse 6, man. You can't suppress truth because Christ was truth. You understood? So when they crucified him and they buried him, he rose. Because you can't suppress the truth. You can't sit on the truth and put your weight on the truth. And think you're going to keep the truth down everlasting. That ain't going to happen. John 14 verse 6. Read out.
John chapter 14 verse 6.
Let's see what the Messiah said. Yahushua. Read.
Yahushua said unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life.
I am the way to what?
The truth and the life.
I am the way to what?
The truth and the life.
I am the way to what? The truth and the life. I'm the way to what? The truth and the life. Yahushua said he was the truth, man. So when they try to suppress him, they try to shut him down. They try the Roman Empire, the Roman government tried to kill him to suppress the truth. He rose. Just like Psalm 85 and 11 says, the truth shall spring out the earth. You can't suppress the truth. Just like they try to suppress the teachings of Christ, man. The teachings of Yahushua. Sprung out the earth. The truth shall spring out the earth. Who you think in Psalm 85 and 11 talking about? In terms of the truth springing out the earth. The death, burial, and resurrection of Yahushua, man. You can't keep the truth down, man. You understand? Now let's go back to Isaiah chapter 40. Isaiah chapter 40, verse 4. Every valley shall be exalted. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, it's time for you to come up. And every mountain and hill shall be made low. And it's time for you heathen nations to go down and serve and slavery and servitude, man. And the crook shall be made straight. And it's time for the truth to spring up out of the earth. Because that's what kept us crooked the whole entire time. Religion and these lies. But the crook shall be made straight. And the rough places plain. You understand? Isaiah 40 verse 5. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed. That's the truth, man. The glory of the Lord is being revealed now. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. The glory of the Lord is being revealed. You feel me? Because according to Psalm 23, it says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me lie down in green pastures. He lead me beside the still waters. It says, he lead me beside the still waters. What else? And then that goes to the part where it says, he restored my soul. He restored my soul because he's doing that for the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. He restoring our soul because the Most High ain't doing that to all of the house of Israel as of a whole. He's doing that to the elect of the nation of Israel, man. In Psalm 23, when it says he restores my soul, that's him, according to Isaiah 40, verse 4. That's the crook that's being made straight. And the rough place is plain, man. You feel me? And it says, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all the flesh shall see it together. For the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it. You see that? And now the glory of the Lord in these last days of time is being revealed. When you see these brothers out on these street corners preaching and teaching the word of God, telling the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans they are the Israelites, man. You're not going to be able to stand on the lie forever because the truth shall spring out of the earth. Now let me give you this. Give me Deuteronomy out. Deuteronomy 33 and 29. Deuteronomy 33 and 29. They say usually when you tell a lie, you got to tell another one. You're going to tell so many lies, you're going to get hung up in your lies. But that's all right. We got the lies now. We understand they're a bunch of bull crap. Deuteronomy 33, verse 29. Come on.
Deuteronomy chapter 33 and verse 29.
Uh-huh.
Happy art thou, O Israel.
Happy art thou, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Read on.
Who is like unto thee?
Who is like unto the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans? Because no other nation was given the laws, statutes, and commandments. That's why we can say that proudly. Who was giving God laws besides the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans? Who is like unto us? Read on, out.
Who is like unto thee, O people saved by the Lord?
People saved by the Lord. Salvation is for Israel. It's not for any other nation on this earth, man. You other nations, get ready for servitude and slavery in the kingdom of heaven. Because when you enter the kingdom, you're going to be a slave in the kingdom, serving under the nation of Israel, man. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, get ready to receive a lot of slaves and turn to these heathens and these Gentiles. Salvation is for Israel, right there in your face, man. I already told you in the Old Testament. Read on, out.
It says, the shield, O people saved by the Lord, the shield of thy help, and who is the sword of thy excellency.
The shield of thy help, and who is the sword of our excellency, that is the Most High and his Son, man. Read on.
And thine enemies